Mr. 𝐓𝐡𝐫𝐫𝐲 told me when I was 25 and first met him, he said, Mr. Rohn, in my personal opinion, financial independence is a worthy goal. He really said that for a reason, because a lot of people are having problems with financial independence simply because they have some moral issues really confused in their minds about the value of money, or the danger of money, or having too much money, or that the true values of life are not wrapped up in money, so money really doesn't matter that much. And some people have some problems in this area. But some people really have some problems on financial independence because they feel that the morality of earning lots of money is a very valid question. Every once in a while, someone after my seminar says, I think you talk too much about money, success. And that's not where the good life is. The good life is not just money and success and making a lot of money and doing well financially. And I understand that. I really do. And I have pondered those subjects all these years. And I don't want it to make it seem like just going for money or financial success is where the true values are. They are not. And hopefully in my seminar I've got enough in there to try not to mislead people that I'm just thinking of financial success. So Mr. 𝐓𝐡𝐫𝐫𝐲 said to me, in my opinion, financial independence is a worthwhile objective. He said, here's why. He said, Jim, once you get money out of the way, you can't believe the other dimensions of your life you can work on. Once you solve the money problem, he said, now you'll have the time, more time, to work on certain other projects of your life that will really start to grow and expand. So he said, for that reason, I think financial independence is a worthwhile objective. And I know part of it's a moral question. There is a Bible phrase that says, the love of money is the root of all evil. But I'm sure the phrase is probably more correct than saying the love of money. The love of money. Now, when I did start getting some of those big bonus checks way back in those early days, my first crack at money, I wasn't too worried about, whether or not it was going to ruin me. I know it is a moral question. Sometimes it's something you just have to wrestle with. But here's what I found out. Financial independence is not something you have to throw away all other values to acquire. You don't have to throw them all away. Now, you could, and that would be foolish. If there's a half a dozen major values and you threw away 5 to go for 1, see, that would be foolish. But in my opinion, you really don't have to. But now in the moral question, for those who press me a little bit about talking too much about money and finance, being successful, I have another question in response, sharpening up my debating skills. And here's my question. If you could do better, should you? That's pretty good. On my side of the debate, right? If you could do better, should you? Sometimes people use the moral question as an excuse to be lazy and not to improve. Then on the other side, part of it is just the challenge to see what you can become, regardless of what the amount is. A man said to me one time, well, Mr. Rohn, I'm making about $50,000 a year. Isn't that enough? And I said, yes, it's enough if you're bumping your full potential. But if you're capable of $500,000 a year, you're somewhat of a loser. See, it's not the amount that counts. It's the extent of your reach that counts. That's what we want to do. Employ the full extent of our reach, whatever that amount turns out to be. If it's $5,000 a year, wonderful. If you're really extending yourself economically, doing the best you can, and those numbers turn out to be 5,000, wonderful. If it's 50,000, wonderful. If it's $500,000, wonderful. As long as you're extending yourself, your mental, personal capacity to its limit, whatever those amounts are, those are the amounts. Because Mr. 𝐓𝐡𝐫𝐫𝐲 had this simple philosophy. How far should you go? Answer, as far as you can. How much should you learn? As much as you can. How many books should you read? As many as you can. How much should you earn? As much as you can. How much should you share? As much as you can. What should you accomplish? As much as you can. That's a good philosophy. What could I do in comparison to what I am doing? What could I do to extend my reach? Am I fully employed? Good question. And I think that's the answer to some of the moral question. If you're properly using your 8 hours and you're extending yourself and you're doing your best, whatever that amount is, that's the amount. But financial independence is a worthwhile goal. If you can finally set money aside as being such a major object in trying to accomplish and paying the bills. And Mr. Shove said to me, Mr. Rohn, I think the only way to get money out of the way is to have plenty. So I went for that. Here's what also I found out. The time you've already set aside for labor is enough time to become wealthy. If you're working 8-10 hours a day, that's about it. You can't put in more than about 8 or 10. But see, if you better utilize that 8 or 10, and you double, triple, quadrupled your income, see, that would be okay. Just better utilization of the time you're already spending laboring, just a better use of it. Now, see, if you start throwing your health away by going for the money and working 20 hours a day, and slighting all your friends, and walking away from your family, see, now you've lost all the other values to go for one, and that would be, in my opinion, shortchanging yourself. But financial independence, let me give you just a few clues on financial independence, because part of it depends on the plan you have. It isn't necessarily how hard you work, or whatever else you sacrifice to go for it. You really don't have to do that. Most of us live long enough, and especially in this country of unique prosperity, we have chances enough to fairly quickly, before too long, solve the money problems of our life. One of the major reasons why most people don't is because they're operating on the wrong plan. And here's the key. It's not so much what you earn as what you do with what you earn. It's not so much what you earn as what you do with what you earn. For financial independence, here's a good book to get to start giving you some ideas. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. Here's the theme of the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Learn to live on 70% of your net income. This is just a suggestion plan. Learn to live on 70% of your net income. Now, net simply means after taxes, because that's the only money you get to see anyway, right? But those were the instructions. Pay Caesar first. Okay? Give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. In translating this into kids' language, we call it the care and feeding of the goose that lays the golden eggs. Everybody's got to be taught the care and feeding of the goose that lays the golden eggs. You don't tear up the goose and divide it up. Guys, I got me a handful of feathers. Say, oh no. Somebody else says, I got me a wing. Oh no, poor goose. Right? We won't have a goose very long. You must care and feed the goose that lays the golden eggs. And you say, well, the goose eats too much. Well, that may be true. Maybe we all pay a little too much in taxes, I'm sure. And every goose has an inclination to eat too much, right? So the government spends too much money. The goose is overweight. I understand that. But we're all a little over, right? Everything by longevity tends to get off course. Everything. Everything needs to be corrected. And that's just part of life. The longer something goes, the more tendency it is to eat a little too much, indulge a little too much, try to gather up a little too much power. You know, that's just natural, right? And the government's the same way, right? You hire somebody to be a servant in your house, and now they want to take over. You say, no, I hired you to take out the trash, not to run the house. So the goose does overeat. I understand that. And perhaps, we do pay too many taxes. And the government does, spend some of our money a bit recklessly. I understand that. But see, Jesus did say you've got to take care of Caesar. Because part of Caesar's responsibility is to be the goose that lays the golden eggs. We do have to have a society. We do have to have a government, or you have no market. So you got to care and feed the goose. Mr. Schoaf taught me to be a happy taxpayer. Now that was a whole new thing for me. Be a happy taxpayer, not a reluctant taxpayer. Okay, you got to care and feed the goose. And in this country, of course, you know, for a portion of our incomes, maybe it's a little too much, but pay it happily anyway. You know, maybe they'll straighten it out and it'll come down a little bit. Or whatever. Just pay it gladly. So, Caesar's first. Pay Caesar first. Then, what you got left after Caesar needs to be divided up. And the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, gives you some suggestions on how to divide up your money and where to put it, so that you'll have a good plan. Everybody needs a financial plan. Because here's how you surely wind up broke. Spend all you make. So you just wind up broke. Now, in those early days way back there, I spent more than I made. That's why I'm making it down to budget. Finance. To finance the deficit in my spending. Okay. Some suggestions on what to do with the money you've got left now after taxes. One is, learn to be enterprising. Profits are better than wages. Everybody should turn part of their income, even if it's from wages, into capital, and become a capitalist. The healthier the country becomes is going to be a result of more and more people becoming capitalists. Not just letting big business be the capitalist. Now, communism teaches that all capital should be in the hands of the state. And we should take it out of the hands of the individuals because they're too dumb and stupid to know what to do with it. All we want them to do is just show up and do their work and go home and behave themselves, stay out of trouble. And we will take care of the capital, the government. Now, see, in this country, we don't believe that. Communism teaches everybody should blend into the mass to the glory of the state. And we all say, heck with that. The state is the servant. And all glory to the individual. That's what we believe in capitalism. Take the capital and divide it up among all the people. And let the people start a business and start this thing going with commerce and interchange of goods and services. And you will create a dynamic society unprecedented in the history of the world. And we've proven that that's true. But see, communism says, give the state all the capital. And we don't believe that. We believe that everybody ought to be capitalists. Use it in their own way. They'll think of things the state can't think of. And they'll react much quicker than the state will. Right? The state's always 2, 3, 4 years late. Government's always late. And they always spend too much money. Right? Capital ought to be in the hands of the individuals. Now, if you don't use capital and become a capitalist, and you don't, and you don't, and you don't, and everybody doesn't, pretty soon, guess what? Now the capital will all start going toward the state because the society has to survive. Okay, now these are just some of my personal opinions, but I'm entitled to those, right? I don't even claim they're right. I just claim they're my opinions. That way I'm off the hook.